Hey everybody, ChristopherOdd here. Welcome to the first video in a series called Let's Discuss, in which I attempt to bring the games that I'm Let's Playing to a close that they deserve. And basically what we're gonna do is I'm gonna talk about my interpretation of the game. Not only just like the gameplay and what I liked, what I didn't like, but also the theme of the game, which is probably gonna be most of the meat of what I talk about. And I will talk about my thoughts compared to previous games, like for Deus Ex as an example. I will be talking about the original compared to Human Revolution, things like that. So once again, this is Let's Discuss Deus Ex Human Revolution. And I'm not gonna pretend to be like a know-it-all here, because I'm not a know-it-all. I don't know everything there is to know about these things, and I'm just gonna give you my interpretation. So first things first, Deus Ex Human Revolution is, as a whole, I would say it's about augmentations, obviously, but also like transhumanism, about kind of furthering the capacity of human beings with technology, right? And it's funny because I've been watching this TV show recently called Fringe, and Fringe has a lot of similarities to video games that I've been playing. And one of the similarities is there's a character in Fringe who has an augmented arm. She loses her arm. Somebody helps her attach this augmented, like, robotic arm, and somebody helps train her and things like that. And now she's, like, you know, fully capable. And it just kind of, like, watching that makes me think, well, if somebody loses a limb and they have the opportunity to get a robotic implant that's going to improve the quality of their life, yeah, like, I think almost everybody would say that that's a cool thing to do. That's fine, there's no issues. I think where people get more concerned is if people just want to get augmentations done, like, on their own. Like, for example, if I was like, oh, I want to be stronger, I want to have more upper body strength, so I would replace my arms with robot arms, and I would lift. And then I'd be lifting heavy shit. You know what I mean? And people would look at that and say, well, no, you can't do that. That's not cool. Things can get out of hand that way. Here's my personal, this is just my personal opinion on it. If you have the means, and if that's something that is possible, and it's safe from the perspective of any other surgery, as safe as a surgery can be, then I mean, if that's something you want to do it. I don't know if that would be something I would ever do, because it just seems too risky. But if there was something that you were like, you know what, I just really need to have like these super robot calf muscles, then you know what, do it. If that's something that's that important where you're gonna spend probably millions of dollars to do it, go hard. I mean, I think the next level, aside from the obvious like replacing limbs and things like that, is getting like neural implants, right? And if you're getting neural implants to, well, in Jensen's case, you have like the Casey augmentation, right? Or the Cassie, however you pronounce it. Basically, you're interpreting other people and being able to manipulate them and things like that. Like, that's, if you think about it, that gets pretty scary. You know, that really does get pretty freaky. And again, if that's something that you are willing to go under the knife for and take the risk where you possibly die and spend all the money to be able to do that, yeah, I mean, it's scary, but all the power to you. It's your body, you do whatever you want. That's the way I look at it. And I may be slightly skewed from the whole it's your body, do what you want perspective, just because I've got tattoos and stuff like that, and I kind of look at it as to each their own. You know, I'm not a judgmental person. I don't look at somebody and be like, oh, I don't like the way you look because of this, or, you know, I'm more, if I do judge somebody, it's based on how they act. And so if you're gonna get an implant in your brain to help you outwit people, let's say, and you use it to malicious ability, yeah, I'm gonna have a problem with that, right? But what am I gonna do? It's your body. So that's kind of my view on the whole augmentation side of things. And I think Deus Ex does a really good job, actually, of specifically Human Revolution, I should say. It does a really good job of the pro-augmentation and anti-augmentation debate. It really weighs on both sides and presents really good arguments for either side. Like, Taggart is anti-augmentations, right? Darrow, well, for most of it, is pro-augmentations. He invented the thing. And Seraph's obviously pro-augmentations because he's got them done. And he got them done to me. So, to me, as in Jensen. So, it does a really good job of playing both sides and presenting facts, I would say. The other side of things that doesn't really get hit on too hard in Deus Ex, and I wish they would have done it a little bit more. They did more towards, I'd say, the last 20% of the game, but it kind of got a little bit confusing. Anyways, talking about the Illuminati, right? And you had this idea that you have this overbearing group that's controlling a large majority of the world's decisions, and in the major urban centers, they're controlling a lot of the things that happen, like what's being built, what kind of research is being done, what kind of laws are happening. Like, the idea of that is very scary. I know that there's going to be a lot of people who are like, the Illuminati is like a real thing. I think there's a lot of history to show that the Illuminati was a major factor back in the day, maybe way back when things were a little bit more out in the open and there wasn't like the internet and people going all like nutty on conspiracy theories and things like that. But do I think that there's like an Illuminati? My personal view is no. I'm kind of a cynic on that stuff, but I'm sure that some of you guys know a lot more about the history of that than I do, and I'm really interested to hear your opinions on it. To me, it just kind of seems a little bit outlandish, a little bit bizarre that there could be this, you know, this one group that's dominating all these decisions and whatever. But if you look at it, I mean, you've got like world leaders, right, that have so much control, or at least they are the figurehead for so much control. Like, even, this is an obvious example, but you look at like the American president, right, and how much dealings they have like in the Middle East, and just they have so much power, it seems. Like, it's almost scary how much power they wield, and it's not just over America. Like, the American president wields power over literally, I would say, the entire world. Like, there's so much power. I would say China's actually also getting pretty strong in the political doings, but you know, you just look at like the U.S. presidents are always, they have their hand in everything, and it's just kind of freaky. But I don't really spend a lot of my time thinking about that stuff. So, Illuminati, I don't know. I would like to hear your guys' opinions on that. So I think that pretty much covers off like the overall theme of the Deus Ex kind of genre, I would say, and the game specifically. From a gameplay perspective, let me put it this way. Deus Ex Human Revolution, I've heard people say like, oh, you know, I didn't like how the gameplay was. I didn't like how it handled. I didn't like how the guy moved. I didn't like having to use cover. I loved all of that stuff. Deus Ex Human Revolution just felt good to me. You know how when you play a game, you're like, yeah, this feels good. And then when you play a game and it's like, something's off. It's like, the way I describe it is, when you're moving your character around, and there's kind of like, they feel weightless. I hate that so much. Like, you have like these floaty characters. I don't know why, that just drives me crazy. But Deus Ex Human Revolution, you feel like the weight of the character when you're shooting the guns, as often as I didn't do that. When you shoot the guns, like, you feel like it feels like it's got weight to it, like it's got a substance to it, and that's really cool. I also liked, my favorite part about Deus Ex, and the most innovative, I think, was the hacking. I don't think anybody can dispute that. I don't think there's any other game that's done hacking as well as Deus Ex Human Revolution. I am not the most experienced gamer, but I know there's other games that have done hacking and probably do it well, but the way Deus Ex did it, like, it kept it fresh the whole time. Not once did I get bored of hacking. Like, it was just, frick, I was like, I can hack this door, sweet, let me do that. So I really enjoyed that. I loved the approach that they took to their level design. And I know that it's an open world game to a sense, but when you can take like these multiple approaches, I just think that that's freaking, like, that's the way all these games should be done, you know? For me, I look at a situation like, okay, there's guards here, and there's that one where the guards are all around that like apartment complex, and you can't go in the front. If you walk in the front, it goes like, can't go there. And I think I took like a vent that I found behind like a box or something. But then when I was leaving, I found like 3 or 4 other ways that I could have gone in there. I could have gone up through the roof, and like, that just blows my mind, right? There's whole sections of the game that you could completely miss out on if you didn't fully explore, right? And that's just like, I just think that's so cool. I can see that being a lot of work, and maybe there's some other things in the game that may have suffered for that because they wanted to build these expansive areas for you to explore. But for me, I think that was really well done. I also liked the communication. I like being able to kind of pick the responses and go in further detail. There's a lot of games that do that. I always am a big fan of that. I liked in this that Jensen had a voice. Like he wasn't like a Gordon Freeman in the sense where you knew who Jensen was. Like, you know what he sounds like, you know what his mentality is, but you could still shape his mentality. So hope that makes sense. I really enjoyed that part. A couple of things that I didn't like. Well, let me think. I'll tell you this, okay? there's really not a lot that I did not like about that game, and I think it was pretty obvious. I've probably said that a few times, not only in this, but when I was playing. And one of the things that I wasn't happy with, that I thought it could have been done a lot better, that I think a lot of people will agree with, is the boss battles. And it's like, look, I think if you're going through, like, honestly, I would say majority of people, I would say, I'm gonna wager a guess here, I would say about 75% of people that play Human Revolution go through and they're just killing people left, right, and center. It's just it's another first-person shooter to them, right? But me, like, I'm like a stealth, I'm a fiend. I am like a thief in the night. I don't want to be detected as often as possible. Like, I don't know, it's just so much more of a challenge to me, and it's so much more intriguing. I love that. So then I'm sneaking through all these areas, and I get to this boss fight, and it's like, okay, take down this boss. I'm like, okay, great. How am I gonna do that? Well, I could sneak around, try to knock him out. Oh, nope, not allowed to do that. Okay, well, I guess I can maybe just sneak by him and leave. No, can't do that. I gotta literally kill this dude. And I know that was like, it's like a widely contested thing, and that's not a surprise to anybody. But it's just, it sucked you right out of the immersion. And for those of you that don't know, the boss battles were actually outsourced to a different company to develop, and why they did that, I don't know. Like, it is just bizarre. But look, here's some saving graces, okay? They are developing a new Wii U version, which is actually pretty sweet. And I don't want to get too off topic here, but in the Wii U version, they are going to be upgrading a few things. They're obviously going to be making use of the Wii U gamepad, but they're also updating the boss battles. I don't think you can I don't think you can go up and like knock them out, but there's other ways to do it. Like, for example, I think in the first boss encounter that you have, you may be able to like sneak up to like a computer room up top and then hack into a turret and enable like maybe a box guard or a turret or whatever, and it can go out and kill the guy or something like that. But I think that is at least a good step. At least they're kind of saying like, yeah, you know, we kind of botched that. And I wish they would have fixed it a long time ago. But if they're going to do it for a new Wii U version, that's pretty cool. And look, I just got a Wii U. I will probably buy that game. And even though I just played it, I will probably play it again just to experience it like from a different perspective. I think it'd be cool to do all your inventory management like on the gamepad, and then interesting to see the additional things that they put into the game, the things that they fix. That's really cool. Now, the other side of that, and again, I want to get back to anything that I disliked about this game, but on the other side of that, there's a lot of people that are upset. Well, okay, I've already supported your company. I have it on PC, or I have it on Xbox or PS3, whatever, and I'm not getting this update. I'm not getting the cool boss battles. I'm not getting whatever. Like, I can see that there's a little bit of hostility there and a little bit of a loss in credibility for the company, because you want to support those people that originally bought it, but you also want to draw in new people. So it's a tough debate, but that's not really what this is about. It's just something that kind of ties in. From a gameplay perspective, besides the bosses, I think that I think overall they did a pretty good job. What I would like to see, and it's probably really, really difficult to do, but one of the things it became kind of, not tedious, but easy, I would say, is that when you're trying to sneak past an AI or a group of individuals, and they take the same path, like they just literally walk back and forth, or they walk in the L shape, or they walk up here, back here, over there, back here, it becomes really predictable, and it's less about stealthing, it's more about just waiting. And I know you can make the argument that stealthing is waiting, but I agree that when you're kind of stealthing around and you gotta sneak past a group of people, you gotta decide when to make your move. But it would be so cool if they could randomize these AI paths a bit more, so that, like, you know what, you come up on a group, maybe there's not a way to just sneak by. Maybe there's not a way to just, like, wait for that guy to go to the other end and then walk by. Like, if it was randomized, it would make things a lot more difficult. Maybe you'd have to wait more. And if it's not a let's play, and I'm playing that, I would totally wait it out. I'd be like, okay, well, I'm gonna be a snake in the grass and I'm just gonna wait this out. But it would be cool if the AI was a little bit less predictable, right? And I found that the AI was a little bit too predictable. I could have upped the difficulty and things like that, but I think that's just a matter of bullets doing more damage. I don't think that's an indication of the AI being any different. So that would be the other thing I didn't like. The third and probably the final thing that I didn't really think was too well done was that by the end of the game, I became so overpowered it was ridiculous. Like, I had praxis points coming out my ass. And that's an augmentation on its own, praxis ass. But like, I couldn't even spend my points. I didn't know. I was like, what do I spend this on? Okay, well, I'll go here, here, here. I don't even want these things, right? But I mean, it's tough because you want to reward players for what they're doing, but it was kind of a flawed system that got me to all of these different praxis points, right? Because look, if you're the run and gun type, you go through and you're killing guys, you're not getting as much experience as you are if you're stealthing. A takedown is worth more than a kill with a gun. And I just thought that they may have rewarded too heavily, and this is weird because I'm a stealth guy, but they may have rewarded too heavily for stealth. You know, if your playstyle is to go through and kill, then that's fine. That's, you know, the game should adapt to that. They definitely facilitated it. You get all sorts of weapons, light weapons, heavy weapons. You had tons of people to kill. You could kill anyone. And then the boss battles, you had to kill them. But you got more for stealthing. And I just thought that was kind of really bizarre, you know? And especially like you get your ghost mode, and there was the other one, I can't remember what it's called, but at the end of like a level, you get extra bonuses for going completely unnoticed, right? It'd be ghost, I think. And then there's, I can't remember what the other one's called. But if you went through and just murdered everyone, you don't get those bonuses. And you missed out on a lot of XP for murdering them. So it's kind of, I'm just trying to see from the other perspective, you know, like if I'm a shooter type guy, that would probably be a little frustrating because I can see the stealth approach being boring to a lot of people, and that's, I mean, that's fine. Now, the last thing that I'm going to talk about is how would I compare this to the original Deus Ex? And I did play that beforehand. I'll tell you this, when I first booted up the original Deus Ex, and even I applied the mods and all that stuff, I was like, oh my god, this is like, this has not aged well. This does not look like it's going to be a super time. The controls were kind of bizarre, and I just didn't, it just didn't click with me for a while, right? But I eventually found that, I would say after probably 3 episodes or so, I found that the story took over, and I wasn't thinking about the controls, and I wasn't thinking about what it looked like anymore. It was kind of like when I played the first Half-Life, right? When I played the first Half-Life, I just built this brand new PC, and I'm running all this crazy, like, graphics and whatever, and my first Let's Play is Half-Life. It's kind of like, why did I do that? But Half-Life just like sucks you in, and I found that the original Deus Ex did that as well. Like, you're just right away, you're like, this is really cool. Now, to compare and contrast the two is very difficult. 2 different companies, 2 very different time periods in gaming, but I thought they both handled options really well. There was a lot of ways to do things. I thought that the Deus Ex Human Revolution presented the options a lot more simply and upfront. Like you have your quest givers, we'll call them, that say, well, if you do this, I'll give you this, or if you just knock them out, I'll give you this. Like, it's very upfront. Whereas the original Deus Ex was more about just go and get this done. I don't care how it's done, just do it. And then you would go and you would do it, and you don't know what the outcome's gonna be. And that's pretty liberating. Like, there was the one scenario where you go to meet Paul. You're JC Denton, okay? In the original Deus Ex, you go to meet your brother, Paul Denton. He's in his apartment. So you go to meet him, and then there's these guys at the door. So the Men in Black or whatever, they're coming to, like, kill us, right? And if you were to just leave, if you went out the window, if you left through the window the way you came in, which I would bet that 80% of people, maybe more, did that, Paul dies, right? Paul dies. You don't see, like, he's just out. Like, that's it. The game is, he is out of Deus Ex. That's it. And he shows up numerous times after that. If, like, you go out the door, the way to save him is you go out the door and you fight the Men in Black guys, and he's saved. And then he shows up multiple times throughout the rest of the game, and it's like, I couldn't imagine my playthrough without Paul being there. So it's kind of bizarre. There was, and I got a lot of criticism for this when I played through it, my Let's Play. There was the chopper with Jock, right? And you're in the one garage, and there's this guy called the Odd Mechanic, and I was like, well, I mean, obviously this guy is sketchy. His name is the Odd Mechanic. Like, let's be serial here. And I was like, okay, well, I'm talking to him. I don't know how to stop this guy, so I guess, like, I know something's up, but what am I gonna do? I can't talk him out of it or anything. So Jock takes off, and eventually he rigs Jock's helicopter and kills him, and I lose Jock. And everyone's like, oh my god, you lost Jock. And I was like, shit. Well, I didn't know what to do, right? So when I'm playing that game, I'm thinking, okay, well, most of the scenarios are like, well, if I talk to this guy, I should be able to convince him or find out that he's a sketchball. What I should have done is just shot the Odd Mechanic in the face. And if I would have shot the guy, Jock would never have died. And again, my whole game would have been different. And Jock did die, like, towards the end, fair enough, but still. It's just those little subtleties where your actions have a huge impact. That's really cool. Another one I can think of is where you have you're on the, I want to say the boat? I can't remember, it's the boat. But you're going to meet, like, the leader of the NSF or something at the back of the boat. I'm kind of foggy. But then, what's her name shows up? The other augmented agent. What's her name? Lebedev? No, that was a guy. Anyways, the chick, the augmented chick, okay? So she shows up, and apparently, and I didn't even think about it, right? But I could have, like, you can kill her, you can not kill her, you can kill her before she comes in, you can kill the guy. There's just so many options, and so many things get triggered that are so drastically different. And I thought that was really cool. Whereas in Human Revolution, there's not so many drastic differences, right? There's like, okay, Malik could have died. And apparently, I actually didn't go back and see the scene. I should actually reload and go to that part where you're protecting Malik. She's getting attacked in her chopper there, in the boobie. and see what the difference is, because apparently if she dies there, then you see this pretty gruesome sight or something. I want to check that out, but that would be a major difference. But the problem is, Malik doesn't really show up a lot after that. It would have been interesting to see what the difference would be. If you guys could tell me that, I would be really intrigued. That would be really cool. So I thought that those little gameplay decisions didn't weigh as heavily in Human Revolution, but I thought that the exploration in Human Revolution was way better done. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I loved finding those frickin' ebooks. You guys are probably so sick of hearing me read those things. You're like, it's on the screen, you're screwing up the words, shut your face. But it was just so cool finding all those different ebooks, and those really pieced together the whole story, which was so cool. Specifically the Darrow books, right? Hearing like the how the developers created these scientific ways that these augmentations could be done, possibly. I just was like, this is awesome. I could read those things all day long. That was so, so cool. So I really enjoyed that aspect. I also enjoyed, like, I remember going on top of, like, climbing this ladder beside the limb clinic at the very beginning in Detroit and finding this frickin' sniper rifle inside of this vent. And you're like, what? This is awesome. Just finding this randomly here. I don't know if it was a part of it. Somebody mentioned, actually, that it may have been part of a quest or something. I'm not sure. But I just thought, like, the amount of stuff that you could find was unbelievable. Hacking into all the computers, piecing together little, like, stories from within the office, especially Seraph headquarters at the beginning. Like, so much office drama. You're like, oh, this is the best. I love it. And, yeah, really cool. I also liked that in Human Revolution, they set you up to really trust Seraph. Like, there was, even at the end of the game when I was kind of like, Seraph, I'm a little bit sketchy on him, it was still hard to, like, not pick his option. You know what I mean? Like, he's the guy you first meet, he's hired you, he's hooked you up with all these augmentations, even though I didn't ask for this. And it was just hard to, like, go against him at the end and, like, not pick what he wanted. And the other thing is, like, if you're comparing that to the original Deus Ex, I don't think you had that, like, big of a connection to anybody. The biggest connection I had was obviously with Paul, because, yeah, okay, maybe they did do a pretty good job with that. That's a tough one, because now that I think about it, they kind of, like, Paul's your brother, right? But then they try to paint Paul in this bad light, and you kind of have to make a decision, like, do you trust Paul? Do you trust them? And I can kind of see that happening in both games. So maybe just by talking it out here, maybe I don't think that Deus Ex Human Revolution did that any better. Maybe they both did it pretty well. The last thing that I'll talk about in comparing the two games is the endings. And they were almost identical. The only difference was that the original Deus Ex, you had basically 3 different missions to choose, and you had to go out and you still had to do these separate missions to accomplish that goal. Whereas Deus Ex Human Revolution, it's like, okay, hit one of these 3 buttons or go over there and blow up the whole place, right? In a way, I kind of felt like, man, there were so many choices throughout this whole game, and, like, I get that it's a choice that you're being presented, but I really wish that this game would have said, look, this is how you've handled these specific key moments throughout the game. This is the ending that's happening to you based on that. You know? Like in BioShock, where you either save the little sisters or you harvest them. Rescue or harvest, I should say. That directly impacts the outcome at the end. Like, it's not just based on, ooh, I'm picking A or B as my ending, right? In Deus Ex, both of them, that wasn't the case. All of those choices that you made up until that point, yeah, they were cool and it did change the game, but it didn't impact really the end of the game. You know, it really didn't, if I'm being honest with my thoughts about it. I thought that it was kind of a letdown, just, oh, okay, pick these 3 buttons. But, you know, I don't develop games. I have no clue about how to even get started with that stuff. So I imagine there's lots of technical reasons that they would do it. Again, it's like, are you, from a gaming development perspective, are you going to spend all this money on an ending that somebody may never see? Because that's time, you got to pay people, you got to pay them for their time, you got to pay outsourcing companies, you got to record voice actors, you got to, like, it adds up. And do you want to spend that amount of money on an ending or a scene or whatever that somebody may not see? So that's my thoughts, my discussion on the overall impact that Deus Ex had on me. All of that being said, I loved it. I loved the first one, but I loved Human Revolution more just because it was so modernized and that was easier for me to get into. So what I would like to do, being that this is the first Let's Discuss series, if you guys have your thoughts and your comments, please put them in a comment box below. And I know that there's a limit on how much you can type, but fill that box up. post it, fill another box up, like whatever, post as many comments as you want to get your point across. And I will be taking the time to read all of them, and I'll respond to the ones that I can. And I think for the next Let's Discuss series, which will be BioShock Infinite or Half-Life, I'm not sure which one I'm going to do next. I think I'm going to do like a Google Hangout. Somebody suggested doing it that way instead of Skype, and I actually really dig that. We could maybe set up some webcams if you wanted to do it that way, whatever. I'm not sure how it all works, so I'll have to experiment. But that one will be coming up in the next little while, one of those two. And I think this is a cool way to finalize an LP, to bring closure to the game, and give everybody an opportunity to like fully discuss what's happening. I think that's the way to go, and I don't think anyone's really doing this. So this is the first one. It may drastically change by the time we get to like 4 or 5 iterations of this. And if you guys have feedback, if you have anything that you think could improve this, I'm totally open to that, because this isn't about you guys just listening to my thoughts, right? This is about interacting and talking about a game that I don't know if you guys love it, but a game that I love. And I'm assuming if you watched it for that long that you probably enjoyed it. And not just for like the commentary or whatever, but you thoroughly enjoyed the game itself. So I think it's an opportunity to really discuss that stuff in depth, and I'm excited about it. So thank you guys so much for your time. I know this is about 30 minutes long, and I didn't actually intend for it to be that long. I just kind of started going. And well, here we are. So thanks once again. I really appreciate the support, and I would love to hear any feedback. I want to hear your thoughts on Deus Ex Human Revolution, the themes, the gameplay, comparing it to the original, all that good stuff. And I will hammer it out with you in the comments, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye.